When Elizabeth became Queen in 1952, crooner Al Martino was recording the UK's first #1 single. Teenagers didn't exist. Dancing was done in pairs, and house was something you lived in. 25 years later, the Queen's Silver Jubilee was in full swing. Official celebrations and suburban street parties were all the rage. But the palace's plans would be scuppered by a group of gatecrashers from the notorious world of punk.
God save the Queen! The fascist regime! It made you a moron!
Jubilee is this great bit of escapism where you get to wave a flag and pretend Britannia still rules the waves. And having little oik from Finsbury Park cropping up in the middle of that and going, there is no future and England's dreaming, it's sort of party pooping on a really remarkable scale.
The Sex Pistols had already outraged Middle England by provocatively signing their record deal at the palace gates. It was a sour taste of what was to come. In an act of record industry manipulation, a song called No Future was renamed God Save the Queen. Underground rock had tipped into sensationalism and anarchy.
It was written well before the Jubilee. It was originally a song called No Future. You know, when you had the 3-day week and rubbish piled high in the streets and everybody on strike. But the lyrics were always the same. In 1977, when it occurred to the record company that it was the Queen's Jubilee, we just changed the title of it. So, I mean, John didn't even realise it was the Queen's Jubilee, you know.
The first time you heard it, you knew it was another kind of national anthem, an alternative national anthem, and the poetry of it was quite extraordinary for me. You know, the words are really condensed, say a huge amount in very, very short couplets.
God save the Queen! 'Cause tourists are money! And our figurehead is not what she seems!
The Queen as a kind of figurehead for Britain, for what we stood for, was incredibly important, and the whole country was really caught up in that. And so for the Sex Pistols to go against that and to voice this unvoiced feeling was amazing. And when pop music can do that, and it does happen sometimes when it hits the nail on the head in that way, it's like lightning arriving and just hitting.
It was a good track, you know, John's venomous lyric. I don't know if he's attacking the Queen personally in it. I think he's attacking people for sort of standing in line and sort of blind acceptance of the status quo, and you've made yourself a moron by just accepting this kind of deference thing.
It couldn't happen now, but there's something brilliant and romantic and exciting about it, although I'm sure as John Lydon was being attacked with a machete in Stoke Newington for doing it, he was sort of querying the wisdom of having written that song in the first place, you know.
The 7th of June, 1977, the Silver Jubilee. As royalist communities celebrated up and down the country, the Sex Pistols hired a boat for a very different party of their own.
It was a wonderful thing because there were crowds lined up on all the bridges cheering it on, and everyone on that boat felt we're at the place to be. You know, this is the fantastic centre of the universe going down the Thames. But, you know, it was immediately clear, really, that the police were tailing it and it wasn't going to be long before they stopped it. I think the Pistols managed about 4 songs.
The first cut is the deepest. Baby, I know.
God Save the Queen looked destined for the #1 spot until a faithful old rocker intervened. Rod Stewart's double A-side blocked the Sex Pistols' rise to the top of the charts. Cue one of the great conspiracy theories in the royal history of pop.
It seems ludicrous now. Why would the record industry worry about whether that record got to #1? I mean, it's outrageous, but they really worried about it. It was a massive, massive deal. And so it was kept off #1, and dear old Rod, you know, got #1 instead.
There would just be a blank on the charts. It's like, we can't even mention this. It's so shocking we can't even mention this record.
I think there's a good chance that possibly could have happened, really. I mean, it wouldn't have looked very good that God Save the Queen was #1 the very week of her Jubilee.
Of course, this is a great story, but is it true? So I thought, well, I'll ask the guy who would know, Richard Branson. It was his record company, Virgin. And he said, without a second's delay, it was number 2. End of myth. Sorry.